Greetings everyone, and welcome to yet another update video. This time a DVD update with a graphic novel thrown into the mix as well. It's kind of related to the DVDs we're going to talk about. Well, last DVD update I showed off some of the Korean anime I got, the Korean rip-off anime as I like to call it. And I kind of teased you a little bit, saying, like, I imagine a lot of you are thinking, hey, Sean, do you ever buy any good stuff, or do you just buy the crap? Do you like any of the quality stuff? It's like, yes. Actually, I do. In fact, a couple of you commented in there. It's like, you really got to watch some good stuff, man. You don't know what you're missing. It's like, no, I actually do watch quite a bit of good stuff. I just... I haven't been collecting it a lot for a while. It's only just recently I've started to get back into the collecting and stuff. I used to collect a lot of anime, actually, back in the VHS and Laserdisc days. I used to have a ton of it, but I just got rid of them over the course of the years as DVD and Blu-ray kind of took over. My favorites from those eras I've always been meaning to replace, and that kind of gets into the ones that I got that we're going to take a look at today. So let's not waste any time. DVD, anime, anime DVDs. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, first up, I guess we're kind of revisiting my original introduction to anime in somewhat sideways fashion. Now, I've talked about this, one particular presentation of these shows a number of times in the past. In particular, I think whenever I talked about Robotech or Voltron and sort of my origins, my personal first experience with the anime genre. One of the big ones for me was a series called Force 5, which was basically 5 unconnected Super Robot series. Well, it was 4 Super Robot series and another one that was kind of a sci-fi take on a classic Japanese folklore story. So Force 5 was a big deal to me because it was... it was pretty cool. It was giant robots. It was loosely tied into the Shogun Warriors toy line that came out around the same time. I had all the Shogun Warriors comics as well as some of the toys. So I really dug Force 5. So basically what Force 5 was Jim Terry Productions had acquired the rights to 5 anime shows. Essentially, not so much as a tie-in with Shogun Warriors, but more as almost like a cash-in. I think he was wanting to bring some of the shows over because Shogun Warriors were really popular, but then the toys had lost their popularity by the time he got the rights and got them translated and got them on the air. So, Force 5 just kind of stood on its own at that point. The problem with Force 5, however, was... while it was all English dubbed, and, it was great to see 5 different shows of the science fiction genre, none of them were the complete shows from Japan. They basically would have these 5 shows in rotation, Monday through Friday. So Monday you'd get an episode of one of them, Tuesday you get an episode from them. At least that's how it was supposed to be. In my area, they would just basically show all the episodes of one of them, then all the episodes of the next one, and so on and so forth. So each series was 26 episodes, spread out over, 5 days a week for, I don't know, what is 5 times 26? It's a lot. Anyway, a lot of episodes. So they would spread them out over the course of the series. So the problem was, the original Japanese shows that these are translated from often ran a lot more than 26 episodes. In fact, one of them was UFO Robot Grendizer, which was one of my favorites. I really liked that one a lot. The original Japanese series of Grendizer runs 74 episodes. So of those 74 episodes, they translated 26. Now, to be fair, they would always try to give them something of an ending, something of a conclusion. So Grendizer ends with, I guess, what would have been the first climax of the series, sort of like a mini conclusion, but leaving it open for more down the road. So it had kind of a conclusion to it. There was also Danguard Ace. I remember Danguard Ace kind of had a conclusion to it as well. But again, the original Japanese series was quite a bit longer. I don't know. It was maybe about double the length. And then you had Starzinger, which was shown as Space Cateers. And Starzinger was quite a bit longer. It was, I don't know, I think again like 60 or 70 episodes, of which we got 26. So it was that one was completely left hanging. Like it was just left, they were off on this big adventure, and then it just was just left hanging in the middle of nowhere. Then you had Gaiking. Gaiking had, I think again, sort of a mid-series conclusion, but it wasn't a final ending of the story. And then you had, finally you had Starvengers. Now Starvengers was based on Getter Robo G, which was actually a sequel to a series from the year before called Getter Robo, which made it kind of confusing. So you get in and see Getter Robo G, which basically starts right in the middle of the story, picks up right where Getter Robo left off. The very first episode, there's a funeral. So it's like, right away, one of the main characters is dead. Somebody that if you have no idea who this is, just all the heroes are depressed and at a funeral, and like, wow, what a downer way to start the series. But so for years, I had no idea why they started on a funeral. It just seemed really strange to me. Then I found out later it's because it's actually Getter Robo G, which Starvengers was adapted from, is actually the second series in a series of series. And, yeah. So anyway, what is the point of mentioning Force 5? Force 5 was not my absolute introduction to anime. My very, very, very first introduction to anime was actually Battle of the Planets, which, for a long time, I couldn't remember the title of the show. I just remembered it as Phoenix Force. Yeah, and they've recently released the complete series of that in its original uncut Japanese form, which is a series called Gatchaman. Which I'd really like to pick up. I have not picked it up yet. You will not see it in this update, just in case you were thinking that's where I was going with that. But no, not yet. Soon, but not yet. So, back to Force 5. So, Force 5 was kind of my continuation of my introduction and, personal education in the world of anime. So, recently, Shout Factory has released 3 of the 5 shows, sort of, that were a part of Force 5, with all new English translations, so it's not the Force 5 translations, and re-edited into trilogies of movies. So each one of these is a trilogy of movies. Each one about, good solid 2.5 hours in length, with an all-new translation. And the best thing is, what they've done is they've taken the main plot elements. Now, this was actually, it was Toei Productions that produced all of these shows. So this was an edit that was approved and supervised by Toei. So this has become the official Toei edit and how Toei themselves wants these shows to be presented abroad. There's good and bad with that, which I'll get into in a minute. So basically, the ones we got are Danguard Ace, which is great because it was one of my favorites. I really like this one. Danguard Ace was also part of the Shogun Warriors line and does appear in the comics as well. No relation to the series, however. And we got Gaiking. There we go. Very nice. And then finally the aforementioned Starzinger, also known as Space Cateers. But yeah, so there you go. So I was really stoked when I found out that they were putting these out because, I mean, it's really hard to track down the Force 5 episodes. In particular, this one, for some reason, seems to be super, super hard to find in any form, even as a fan sub or anything. And these two as well, I haven't been able to find anywhere. The other two, Getter Robo G and UFO Robot Grendizer. What is going on with my audio over there? Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I can monitor my audio recording from here, and it was hiccuping and stuttering, and I didn't know what was going on. Anyway, sorry about that. All seems to be well now. So, yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so basically Toei Animation has made it clear that this is the way they want these particular shows to be presented. So as a trilogy of movie compilations that basically give you the meat of the story and cut out all the filler. So you do get the main story, and the good part about these versions versus the Force 5 versions is you actually do get a proper beginning, middle, and end. So all of these have proper conclusions to them. So no longer will we be left hanging. Now, these are not the same English dubs that were in Force 5. These are all new English dubs that were done specifically for these releases. There is no Japanese audio on these releases. There's no subtitles. So it's English dub or nothing. So it's unfortunate that we may never see like a proper full uncut release of these classic shows over here, but at least we're getting them in some form. And sadly, this is likely going to be the only way that we will see them in North America. I mean, they're just... I don't know why, honestly. There are companies like Discotech out there, which are actually bringing a lot of 70s and early 80s anime over here for the first time, which is great. But I don't know if they're going to be getting stuff like this. It really depends on the individual company and what they want done with their properties, you know. So if this is the way Toei wants it, then that's how we get it. You know, it's just all that there is to it. Now, these are very nice looking sets. There is one thing about them, however, that I was not aware of when I purchased them. Honestly, normally it would affect my decision whether or not to purchase. But in this particular case, just because these shows are so goddamn rare, I was willing to make an exception in this case. I've literally been searching for these shows in some form, any form, for over 20 years. Easily. You know, I had like one VHS tape of the first 2 episodes of Gaiking, the Force 5 version, and that was it. That was all I was able to find. I had the first 2 stinking episodes of Gaiking, and that was it. I since found fan recordings of the original Force 5 releases. Well, most of them anyway, not all of them, but a good chunk of them. So I was at least able to see them in the original Force 5 versions again, or well, original to me anyway, because that's how I first saw them. And then I found some fan subs of a couple of the uncut shows, like Getter Robo G and UFO Robot Grendizer. I've not found fan subs of any of these, though. These have been kind of the holy grail of the rest of Force 5. This one in particular, as I was mentioning, seems to be particularly rare. So anyway, that one particular thing about these releases, well, they were TV shows in the 70s, meaning they were made for television and television aspect ratio. See where I'm going with this? Yeah, I'm very sad to say that all 3 of these releases are cropped to 16:9. Yeah. Now, it wouldn't be so bad if it didn't seem that they had cropped it from a video source rather than from a film source, because the image quality is actually very fuzzy and there's jaggies all over the place. I mean, it really is not the best looking presentation. You know, the quality of the new audio dub, well, I mean, it's the acting, honestly, is about on par with the old Force 5 version, which honestly isn't saying much. It's pretty cheesy, especially by today's standards. But, you know, to me, if anything, that makes it more genuine to the era from which it came, you know, and more genuine to the type of presentation I'm used to seeing these. The only exception being the widescreen presentation, because these are not widescreen shows. They were made in the 70s. They were not meant to be shown in widescreen. And I wouldn't have minded the cropping so much if A, they had gone from a film source and it didn't look so fuzzy, and B, they actually appeared to put some effort into doing the cropping properly. It honestly looks like they just took the TV image and chopped off the top and bottom to give it a cinematic look, and that's it. Just like put it all on automatic. You know, which surprises me, considering, I mean, obviously some effort went into editing everything together into the movie compilations. You'd think they could have adjusted the cropping one way or the other there, because I watched, even from the first, 30 minutes or so of Starzinger, I noticed there were quite a few instances where it was obvious that important stuff was being chopped out of the image. So that's unfortunate. But as I said, this is why I did such a big lead up. This is literally the only option we have. It's this or nothing. So, I mean, we take it cropped and dubbed, or we keep holding out for a release that's probably never going to happen. You know, honestly, these shows are just too obscure. They're too obscure. I'm amazed that they got any kind of a release at all. You know, I mean, I tell people about Force 5, which was a big part of, you know, my childhood growing up, and, you know, significant in my you know, love of anime to this day. And they just look at me like I have turtles coming out of my ears. You know, like, what the fuck is Force 5? What, you mean Voltron? No, it's not Voltron. But anyway, yeah. So, Danguard Ace, Gaiking, Starzinger. You pretty much know everything you need to know about them. They are nice sets, you know. They are very nice, like in terms of the presentation. Disc art is very nice. Package art is very nice. They got lots of descriptions and more artwork on the inside of the insert there, which is quite nice. But, you know, technical caveats aside, I'm happy to have them in the collection, you know. I mean, because, I mean, these shows were pretty significant to me growing up. So next up, I was going to do all the anime updates in one, but I talked about Force 5 and these releases far longer than I expected to. So we'll just make this sort of Zernizer X Origins of Anime video. It's great that I'm able to actually talk about this stuff now and show you some stuff, you know, that you can actually check out. So next up, after Force 5, the next big significant show for me was one called Starblazers, which many of you may be familiar with, which is the English translated version of the legendary classic animated series Space Battlecruiser Yamato, which turns 40 this year, actually. The original series aired in 1974. I would have been 2. Well, we got it over here in the late 70s. I think it was like 78 or 77 or 78. We got it here in actually a very faithfully translated version. Well, faithful to a point. Faithful in that they kept the you know, the main story intact. Character deaths were left intact. You know, it wasn't really censored. The only things they changed was there was a lot of references to events from World War II and kind of how they paralleled some of the future events. All that stuff was cut out of the American translated version. But other than that, all the sci-fi parts of the story were left very much intact, and it was actually a really, really good adaptation with some definitely above average voice acting for the time as well. I remember getting up at 6 a.m. every day before school and watching Starblazers before I went off to school, and it was great. I would never miss an episode. Now, they only showed the first 2 seasons in my area. So season 1 was the Quest for Iskandar, and season 2 was the Comet Empire. And they did a 3rd season a few years later called the Bolar Wars. I have never seen that. It is available online. I have seen it around. I just haven't got around to watching it yet. So anyway, with Starblazers, all of the DVDs of Starblazers are long out of print and ridiculously expensive. And sadly, the original uncut Japanese version has never actually been made available here. You can only see it as a fan sub. That's it. It's your only option. There's just no official release of it here, sadly. So yeah, so we're actually going to be watching the fan subs on our group viewings in the coming week. So if you want to join in on that, please do. There are streaming versions of the fan subs as well, so links will be provided so you can watch the show along with us. And yeah, please join in. It's going to be fun, especially if you've never seen the show before. And then we can hang out and chat and watch Space Battlecruiser Yamato together. But anyway, what does it have to do with the update? Well, for a long time, I had this lovely collection of graphic novels of Starblazers. Let's see, got four of them right here. Just to give you some idea, here's volume 2. This is very nice. This is a comic book adaptation of the entire first season of Starblazers, which uses actual stills from the show. So actual scanned images from the show, you know, animation cells, backgrounds, the whole works. And it's just gorgeous. It looks fantastic. But here's the problem. I picked these up literally probably about 25 years ago. When I was like 15 or so. And you notice, it's five volumes, of which I have volumes 2 through 5. Well, 25 years was long enough. My OCD would not let it go one more year. So I finally tracked down volume 1. There you go. So now I actually have all 5 volumes of the WCC Animation Comics adaptation of Season 1 of Star Blazers. So now, look at that. All 5 volumes. And in like impeccable condition. So these, you know, considering you would think that these would be super rare, but they're actually really easy to find. So if you want to get this set for yourself, just hunt around eBay and Amazon. They're actually pretty easily obtainable, especially volume 1. The one I needed, funny enough, was the easiest to get and wasn't that expensive. I think it cost me like $10, which is pretty good. Which, funny enough, I think is about what I paid for each individual volume back in the day, back in the 80s. Here, we'll do it like this. Sure, we'll put them all there. There you go, big stack of Star Blazers comics. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So this for me, these in their Force 5 form, and this in its Star Blazers form, were pretty big for me, and they were the ones that really got me into anime. I mean, Battle of the Planets kind of kicked things off, but then these really cemented it. And these are also the ones that really got me into shows with heavy continuity, like serialized, long-form stories. I really like the epicness of them, just because they could tell much bigger stories over a longer span of time. You really get to know the characters and stuff. Great stuff. So for me, I always preferred that type of story over more episodic stories. I just found them way more interesting. So yeah, there you go. Not so insignificant anime updates. And not all of them either. There's more to come, but we will save the rest for next time. So until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Greetings, everyone. Well, I kind of slurred that, didn't I? Greetings, everyone. Yeah. Greetings, everyone. That just sounded weird. Anyway, hello, and welcome to another, any Blu-rays? Nope, DVDs. DVD, Blu-ray, not Blu-ray. I'm just going to start over.